Good evening. Welcome to Ravings of a Lunatic. I am your host, Carson Dingler, and this evening I am Hawaiian themed because we are going to be talking about Kamp Koral, which is Nickelodeon's latest gigantic project. So, there was a SpongeBob movie that actually came out several months ago. It wasn't that long ago. And I believe it came out overseas. It was called Sponge Out of Water. Actually, no, that was the one before. The SpongeBob movie that came out recently was Sponge on the Run. Sponge Out of Water came out several years ago. They actually filmed it in Savannah, and they used the Savannah College of Art and Design for some of their green screen sets. SCAD actually got to help out with that, which is pretty cool because I'll be down in Savannah in several months, so I'm really looking forward to that. But that was Sponge Out of Water, which implemented both 2D animation and then CGI in the real world. So they had SpongeBob and Patrick and, Sandy and Squidward, Mr. Krabs, and Plankton. They were all superheroes. They were super buff, and they were in the real world. And they filmed a lot of that in Savannah. So this new one was CGI. It was computer animated, but it wasn't in the real world. It was all CGI. It was a lot like the Scoob movie, if you've seen that, which was highly stylized. So Sponge on the Run was highly stylized. It was about SpongeBob looking for Gary, which had already happened in an episode of SpongeBob. And I want you to note that because we're going to be talking about that again in a minute. So, Sponge on the Run, interesting movie. It used a concept that was already utilized. There was a scene, there were multiple scenes in Sponge on the Run where, SpongeBob was doing things that were reminiscent of the past, which included Kamp Koral. And Kamp Koral wasn't a past that had been explored in SpongeBob. It was a manufactured past. And what I mean by that is Kamp Koral wasn't something that was already in the show. It actually retconned the show. So if you've been following up with Kamp Koral, you probably already knew this, but SpongeBob met, his friends in the show as a young adult, not as a small child at Kamp Koral. But that's what the show is about. So the show actually retcons the SpongeBob show. Kamp Koral retcons SpongeBob, which is insane because the lore of SpongeBob isn't even deep. It's barely even surface level. So it's insane that they're already retconning themselves. So the reason that I, in my opinion, think that this show is just awful, it's just terrible, even in concept, is because of Steven Hillenburg and his wishes. So Steven Hillenburg created SpongeBob, so this is a little bit of a basic understanding. This is so that you can get a basic grasp of what's going on. He created SpongeBob, and he was on the show for several years. He ended up leaving the show. He came back for at least a season, and I watched some of the episodes that he worked on, and this was pretty recent, like 2018, 2019 episodes, and they were really good. I think some of them even came out in 2020, so he came out with some really awesome episodes. They were really good, but he ended up passing away. And before he passed away, which I believe was from cancer, he said that one of his rules for the SpongeBob show was that he didn't want there being spin-off shows. And he said that before he passed away. And then right after he passed away, Nickelodeon started working on Kamp Koral, which is just absolutely insane when you think about it, because it really looks like Nickelodeon Viacom was stabbing Steven Hillenburg in the back. He was just rolling in his grave because of this. So, here's the thing. This isn't the first time Viacom has done just weird stuff like this where, they try to go against the will of maybe the general public or creators or things like that. I'm coming out with a Butch Hartman video later this week. I know it's kind of weird for me to upload midway through the week, but I'm coming out with a Butch Hartman video where I'm going to talk a little bit about when Nickelodeon moves shows to Nicktoons and how that's how they kill off some of their shows. So Viacom, Nickelodeon, Viacom owns Nickelodeon. This corporation isn't new to doing treacherous things such as this. We're kind of used to seeing this from Nickelodeon and Viacom. Them just doing absurd things and just kind of being jerks, just kind of being bullies just because they can. But here's the thing. There's a rumor going around now that maybe Steven Hillenburg changed his mind before he passed away. Not really a rumor as much of a theory, you know. So it is possible that maybe before he died, maybe even on his deathbed, he changed his mind and he said, you know, I think it would be a good idea if we try something new and maybe try a new show. I don't know. I didn't know the man. But what I do know is that it was a fact that he didn't want to do a spin-off show for a long period of time, for years. He didn't want to do this. And now we have Kamp Koral. So, I want you guys to let me know in the comments what you think about the animation in Kamp Koral. Go watch the video. I'm going to include a link in the description, but the Kamp Koral video is on the Nickelodeon YouTube channel, at least on the SpongeBob YouTube channel. And like I said, let me know in the comments what you thought about the animation, because what I'm thinking is that Kamp Koral is basically Fanboy and Chum Chum, which is not a good thing, because the Fanboy and Chum Chum animation, yes, was stylized, but oh my gosh, if you've seen Fanboy and Chum Chum, which it's been a meme within the past year or two, but Fanboy and Chum Chum was a show that came out like literally 10 years ago, and the animation from Kamp Koral is basically rivaling Fanboy and Chum Chum. That's not a good thing. Fanboy and Chum Chum was stylized, but in just an awful, gross way. Kamp Koral doesn't look gross, but it's not where it needs to be in the year 2021. This is not where we need to be with a professional company's animation. The thing that I will note is the lighting. Go and watch the video, because the lighting for Kamp Koral is atrocious. I've done computer animation before. I only did one scene. It was of an AT-AT walking towards a snowspeeder, and even in that one scene, I was able to get better lighting than I saw in Kamp Koral. It is not hard to get decent lighting within, a software such as like Maya, a computer animation software. It's not that hard. It's definitely not that hard for a giant corporation like Viacom, which owns Nickelodeon. So, Kamp Koral doesn't really look that good. One thing that Nickelodeon used to do is, for example, in the Jimmy Neutron movie, they used the assets that they had from Jimmy Neutron. They saved the character models of, Jimmy, Sheen, Carl, Goddard, basically all of the main characters, and they just brought those models into the show, which means that whenever the Jimmy Neutron show came out, the animation looked so good in the show, like all the characters looked so nice, because they just used the character models from the movie, because movies have higher budgets. So Nickelodeon was being really, really smart with that whenever they came out with the Jimmy Neutron movie, and saying, this is going to be worth it because we can use these character models for the show whenever it comes out. So Nickelodeon was really smart with Jimmy Neutron. For Kamp Koral, you can't say the same. The animation for the Kamp Koral scenes in the Sponge on the Run looked really good. It was a good kind of stylized. But from what I've seen in the a little over 6 minutes that we've gotten of the Kamp Koral show, there's nothing promising. So, like I said, animation looked really good in Sponge on the Run, but it doesn't look like they transferred all the assets. It doesn't look like they transferred all the character models into Sponge on the Run. Everything in Sponge on the Run looks incredibly basic, which isn't good for a show like SpongeBob. So, I'm going to end, by saying this. Sponge on the Run had a lot of potential. But looking at it now, it looks like Nickelodeon is just taking the cheap route. The voice acting, from what I heard, from that video clip, what I was hearing was good. The voice acting sounded good. The animation did not look good. It did not look rendered. It didn't look like the animation was finished. It looked, like I said, it looks like Nickelodeon's taking the cheap route, and it looks like they're just spitting out garbage. Kind of like all of their recent shows, apart from, some of the actual decent seasons of SpongeBob that have come out recently. So it looks like Nickelodeon is just following up their garbage shows with another garbage show. So even though this is happening, we can still have hope. It might be good. Maybe the stories in each episode are actually decent. From what I saw, it didn't look like a dumbed down version. It didn't look like total Dramarama. That's basically what I'm saying. It doesn't look like a dumbed down version of the original content. it looks like a continuation. You know, obviously it's pretty cool, but it looks like a continuation of the same storytelling quality. Like, it's pretty good for a kid's show. So we have that to look forward to at least. But I would be wary. I would be incredibly cautious of Kamp Koral. If you're going to watch it, cool. I'm not going to be watching it. I'm not going to support something of that quality. So, thank you guys for watching. Aloha, because that means hello and goodbye. And I'll see you guys in the next video.